from each other. So these are things that I've seen or that I've done myself that I think are really good practice. So the first one is to get students to think about learning styles and what learning style they have. I think we've done that with students. But it's to actually get them to plan a lesson based around other students' learning styles. So for example, I've got them to choose a novel and lots of different dystopian texts, for example. Choose a novel of their own choosing, and in groups of 4, you give them the list of kind of 6 different learning styles and say, come up with an activity for every learning style. So they write the actual activities that another group are going to do, and then you swap. And it's great because it takes about 2 weeks, and that's 2 weeks of your lessons, but they really learn a lot from each other's learning styles. But they have to think, how would a visual learner understand these texts? What question could I ask them of this? And my second idea is based around film studies lessons that I've done, which is when they do A-level film studies, they have to have case studies that they know really well in terms of lots of facts and figures and things like that. And it can be pretty boring to teach and pretty boring for them to hear. So I get them to do a case study that they prepare at home, and they have to have all the facts and figures ready, not knowing what they're going to do with it. And when they come to the lesson, I show them Bloom's taxonomy and say to them, actually, you're going to learn this very best by teaching it to somebody else. So they go into a pair, they have to teach another person it in 5 minutes and then test it. And then as the plenary, we test each other and see what they've learned. And the third idea I have is to have class experts for revision. When you get to the time of year when you're really revising topics all the time, and the students see you as the expert all the time, what I do is say to the students, go home, choose a topic that you're actually going to be the expert for next lesson. Choose anything that we've done this year, and anything that's on the exam paper. And when you come into the lesson, you're going to be the person who knows the most about that. And they again choose another student in the room to teach that to and flip it around. The fourth thing is something that the English department here do a lot of, and Claire Myers and Caroline who are here, is that we give students a choice of activity in every lesson. So in order to get the same thing out of them, so say we want them to understand Frankenstein and how he feels at a moment in a novel, we actually come up with 4 different ways that learners can engage with that. And they choose the activity from the front of the sheet. From the front of the class, they come up and they have a look. Would they rather write a diary extract, a letter? Would they rather draw a picture? Or would they rather think of a film title and how they're going to represent it in that? And then, with everything a student writes and hands into you, I say to them, at least one other person in this room needs to have read it and marked it for you before you give it to me. So whatever they write, they're passing it on, passing it around the room, getting a bit of feedback, and then they're handing it into me. And it's amazing, sometimes people learn to spell that way and actually maybe read their work back through. And my final idea is about post-it notes. We've got a bit of an obsession with post-it notes here. But it's actually when you've got a lesson, when you've got students who are doing a lot of coursework, or they're just getting on with things, it's to set them up at the beginning to write on a post-it note what their aim is by the end of the lesson, what they're going to achieve, what they're going to have learned, what they're going to have gone through, and then stick them all up on the board. Then at the end of the lesson as a plenary, they come up really quickly, take a post-it note, and then they talk to the student whose post-it note it is and said, what did you do? Did you achieve this? How far did you get? What are you doing next lesson?